glory. Everyone has a story that showcases God's intervention in their lives. It is your story that God shines and communicates His life and love through. Your life should be a collection of stories. Stories about how you overcame an obstacle. Stories about challenges and victories. Stories about, transitional moments and experiences that are meaningful for you. These stories are very, very powerful when you share them correctly. They have the ability to emotionally connect you with people in a powerful way that communicates a larger life lesson and truth to others. Like the time I was walking toward a registration table in a hotel. The person sitting behind the table was sitting in a wheelchair, and as I walked toward him, I suddenly had a vision. I literally saw myself walking up to the side of this man's wheelchair and tapping the wheel on the chair and saying these words, "So, when are you going to decide to get out of that thing?" Yeah, this really did happen to me, and I knew instantly that it was God directing me to talk to this gentleman. You might be wondering at this point if indeed I followed the direction in that vision. But before I answer this, let's talk about your story. What was a meaningful experience you had which became a transitional moment in your life? How did God take something that seemed so hopeless and revealed Himself to you in a dramatic way? You see, your story is His glory. It reveals to others how God can step into their situation and circumstance and literally turn things around for them. So, what was the larger message of my story in the hotel? Well, let me tell you. As I walked up to the side of this man's wheelchair, I reached out, yes, with my foot, and I tapped it. I heard myself saying those words, "So, when are you going to decide to get out of that thing?" Fortunately, this man, who later introduced himself as David, was quite forgiving and, he didn't take offense. I began to share about how God wanted to heal him. He responded that he was a good Catholic and he knew that it was God's will in His perfect timing. I shared how sometimes we get used to situations. We have problems that we face in life, and at those times they become normal to us. It's easy for that to happen. I talked with him about how he can use his imagination to create a new normal for his life that he can have faith toward. What happened next changed my life forever. You see, up to that point, I thought this vision and conversation was all about this poor guy in a wheelchair. Let me explain. While talking with David, a voice spoke to me. I believe it was the voice of the Holy Spirit. He began talking to me, and he started out with exact same words I spoke to David before I tapped the side of his wheelchair. It said, "So, Scott, when are you going to decide to get out of the wheelchair?" At that moment, I knew this was not about David. I realized I had been set up, as it were. This was about the way I was struggling to break free from financial struggle in my own life. I'd been sitting in my own wheelchair, just like David, but my wheelchair wasn't built with metal and rubber wheels. My wheelchair was a mindset of poverty that I'd become used to and had become my normal. This event started me on a transitional journey where I started changing the beliefs of my own heart from one of struggle to a mindset of abundance. Okay, so I've now showcased to you a story which I experienced and demonstrated it in a way that has a powerful life lesson. The question is, so what wheelchair is stopping you? Now it's your turn. Begin thinking about that meaningful story in your life that you can use to share with others. Remember, your story is His glory.